Hello, welcome to this short yin practice. So we have just come to our autumn equinox, which means that we're moving from summer to autumn to the slower, more nurturing, deeper parts of the year. So this practice is intended to help us to begin to slow down, to look inwards, and to start to build up some solid foundation, some intentions that we want to take with us into the rest of the year. So when we slow down, we can begin to create space. We can learn to listen to our hearts, to what's really right for us, and to honor that. So it's a really special time of year and a special practice. It's a great practice to do at the end of your day, or maybe even at the beginning. So when you're ready, we'll come to a seat on your mat. So you could be on a mat, you could be on your bed, just somewhere relatively comfortable. We're going to be holding poses for a little bit here, creating space in the mind, the body. So yeah, wherever you're comfortable, come meet me there. So if you have a cushion, maybe a bolster, or a block, it's quite nice to sit on that for the beginning of practice, just so that we can elevate the spine. And we're going to tilt the hips forwards a little bit just by sitting on the edge of it. That will create a little bit less pressure on the sacrum, and we can stack our spine nice and tall. So when you find your seat, we're going to take a moment just to orient where we are. So just taking a moment to take in your surroundings. That could be the things that are quite obvious. And then from there, maybe looking at more subtle details, the textures, a contrast of colors. And then once we've taken in our surroundings, closing down our eyes and taking the journey inwards. Bringing one hand to your heart, one hand to your tummy. We just take a moment here to create some space. When we create space, we can start to step into the role of the observer, the witness. Starting to notice the workings of our inner world. So drawing your attention to the heartbeat under your hand. And the sensation of the rise and fall of your breath within your body. And then we're going to begin to consciously slow down. So as we inhale, allowing your stomach to expand into your hand. The breath moves up into the stomach through the chest, the throat, the head. It hovers at the top. And then with your exhale, it trickles down the front of the body, settling in your root. Continuing with your breath, inhaling to lift up slightly through the spine, creating space. With your exhale, can you soften into where you are? Just a few more rounds, just like that. Seeing if you can make a path of least resistance. Where for this moment in time, nothing else is happening other than being right here, right now with the breath and the body. And on your next breath, we take an inhale all the way to the top. And an exhale through the mouth to release. Twice more, just like that. Inhale through the nose. Exhale to release. Inhale. Exhale to release. Drawing the hands to the knees. And just taking a moment to shift the torso left to right. To see how the body feels as we begin to move. Maybe allowing the neck to start to circle too. Not rushing here, starting to intentionally slow down. How does the body respond? Can you allow it to respond rather than react? To listen to the cues and leaning into what feels right in your body. Then settling in stillness, the hands come to the knees. If you're sat on a block, a brick, just moving it out the way. And once again, sitting with a tall spine. With the next inhale, we lift the chest, lift the gaze. Exhale, the chin comes to the chest. We're rounding the spine. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round, moving with your breath. Keeping it slow. Just beginning to move the body in a slightly fluid motion at the beginning of practice. Just to notice any tightness, any blockages. And when you're ready, bringing a more circular motion into the chest space. So we're circling the chest over the right knee, coming forward, drawing over to the left, chin to chest around the spine. Now, as we do this, we move with the breath. We can also use the hands as resistance to allow us to come a little deeper. So as we pull ourselves forwards, pulling into our hands, and as we draw ourselves back, we push on the knees. Just an option. Maybe today you might need a bit more softness. So invite that in. Then when you're ready, we switch direction. And you allow the breath to guide the movement, to be slow. To really feel the sensations within each element of the body, the shoulders, the torso, the hips, the neck. And then coming to the center, we're going to meet in all fours tabletop. So we're stacking the shoulders over the wrists, the hips over the knees. And taking a moment to find your foundation, so gripping into the fingers, slightly tucking the navel to spine, the hips tucked slightly under. Taking a full breath here, inhale through the nose. And an exhale through the mouth. And we're going to widen knees, sinking the hips down to the heels, moving into our first full posture, our child's pose. Reaching the hands forward. The chest comes close to the mat. So if you want to create a little bit more space, we can widen the hands and then draw the chest closer to the ground. So we're going to stay here for a couple of minutes. There's a few options here. If you find this not too comfortable, if you want to maybe try a different variation than normal, we can thread the arms through the body and allow the head to come to one side. And when we get there, drawing the attention to the breath. Now, if you've gone for that second option, if your head is facing one direction, then just shifting it to the other. So we're about halfway through. And Yin's an interesting practice. At the beginning, it can feel very soft, very slow, very comforting. And then as time goes on, it can begin to start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. So it's not necessarily an easy practice. But the longer we stay, the more we have time for our muscles to relax, to accept where we are. And our body can start to focus on the joints, the deeper levels of our body that need to really relax into where we are. So if your mind begins to wander, or maybe things start to come up, feelings of frustration, then can you come back to the sensation of your breath? With your inhales, drawing in a little bit of lightness, newness, fresh air. And with your exhales, just offering the body to soften. And on your next breath, finding your way up to all fours tabletop, drawing the knees in one step, tucking the toes, lifting the hips and meeting in a downward facing dog. So when we get there, this is just a transitionary posture, but we're going to take a few breaths, just allow the body to soften in its own time. So your heels might be lifted, your knees might be bent, all is welcome. We're just learning to listen to the body. Perhaps if you'd like a little bit of movement, invite it in. And drawing the attention back to the breath. How does the body feel today? Where's drawing your attention? So we can draw the focus to the backs of the legs, but we can also draw the attention to our chest, our arm space. Perhaps you rock your shoulders a little further forwards. Then exhale to draw them back. The chest comes closer to the thighs. Maybe moving through that flow a little bit, an undulation of the spine, these micro movements that allow us to see how we respond, see how things feel in the body. Just taking 3 more rounds of slow, intentional breath here. And your attention might be drawn to the obvious things once again, like orientating the room earlier. Can you maybe draw your attention to the more subtle aspects of the posture, maybe the sensation of your fingertips on the ground? Maybe the slight lift of the hips, maybe the sides of the body or the abdominal area. And with your next breath in, lifting the right leg up and back behind you. We're going to draw the right knee to the right elbow, then dropping the shin down to the floor. We're moving into our sleeping swan, so you might need to shift your left knee back a little. We'll start by lifting the chest and then folding over the front leg. Option here to come onto the forearms or to make a little triangle with your hands so that you can drop your head onto your hands. Now, when we first come into this posture, it can be quite nice to take a little sway of the hips left to right. So this rocking sensation of the body reminds the nervous system that we're safe. It's okay to relax. It starts to ease tension, just like rocking a baby when it's having not a great time. So just beginning to create the space. So once again, it might feel nice when we first move into the posture. And then you might have feelings of frustration come up, especially in the hips. Allow yourself to sit with everything, just to create this space. If this is feeling really uncomfortable and not great for particular joints or your legs perhaps, or maybe you have knee problems, you can do this also on the back. So come to lie on the back. We can use the arm to hug the leg into the chest. Exactly the same, just on the back. And can you bring your attention to the breath once again? And then wherever you are, we're going to make our way to a downward facing dog. If you're in pigeon, making your way there. Or if you're lying on your back, you can just let go of the right leg, drawing the left knee into the chest as well. Either rolling over to one side or gently rocking up your spine. Coming to all fours, tabletop, and transitioning into your downward facing dog. Tucking the toes, lifting the hip. When we get there, we're going to take 3 rounds of breath just to reground. So inhale through the nose. And an exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Once more, inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. With your next breath, rising the left leg up behind you. The left knee comes to the left elbow, and the shin comes down to the ground, shifting the right knee back. Lifting the chest, creating space in the front line of the body. And then we come to forward fold, options on the arms or the head to the ground. Once again, perhaps inviting in that rock of the hips. Maybe closing down the eyes. When we close the eyes, we can bring the gaze inwards. Tapping into sensations. And bringing the awareness to the breath. Can you keep it soft, long, intentional? Inviting the breath to start in the stomach. Inviting our deep belly breathing. So once again, we can be on the front of our bodies in our sleeping swan, or if that's uncomfortable, doesn't feel right for your body today, we can do the same on our back. So just sweeping the right leg around, coming to lie on the back, drawing the left knee into the chest, out to the left, and just taking a grip around the leg and settling in. The mind begins to wander, bringing your attention back to the breath, to the rise and fall of the breath within the body. Inviting in space with the inhales and softness with the exhales. If you've gone for the lying back version, just staying where you are for a moment. If you're in your regular sweeping swan, we're going to lift ourselves up, finding a way to downward facing dog. And we're making our way to a seat, so whichever way feels natural to you, it could be walking the feet in, it could just be simply sitting down. We can draw the sit bones to the ground, extending the legs, shifting the sit bones to the middle of the mat. And then we'll all meet on our backs, drawing both knees into the chest. Taking a moment to squeeze them into the body. Maybe taking a gentle rock left to right. And then letting go of the legs, extending the legs to the ceiling. So when you get there, you might want to bring some awareness to the lower half of the body by taking some circles with the ankles, maybe squeezing the toes in and extending them out. And then if you have your bolster, your block, your pillow close by, we can elevate this posture, creating a little bit more relaxation in the legs by lifting the hips and just placing it just under the sit bones. So we're going to leave our legs here for a short period of time. If it feels very uncomfortable to have straight legs, then you can take a bend. We just want the feet to be above the head to allow our circulation to run in the other direction. So when you get there, closing down the eyes. Maybe bringing one hand to the heart and one hand to the tummy. Just drawing the attention to this constant rise and fall of the body as you breathe. And nothing is stagnant. It's constantly moving, but with slow, soft intention. Just noticing if your mind's begun to wander. Can you come back to your physical sensations that are going on right here and right now? You do find that you're struggling with keeping your attention here. You can invite in a mantra, a repetition of words within the mind. So as you inhale in your mind, you say right here. And as you exhale, saying right now. Maybe starting to notice the sensations within the feet. Any tingling feeling, any lightness. Seeing what happens when we draw the attention, when we shift things a little. And when you're ready, we're going to transition into our next posture. So if you've got your hips on anything, we can just lift our hips a little, move it out the way. And then we're drawing the left knee into the chest, the right leg long. Moving into our supine twist, so we can use the right hand to guide the left knee over to the right, cactusing the left arm, and the gaze comes over the left shoulder. So we're creating this twist in the center line of the body, opening up the shoulder, closing off the hips. So many different motions happening within the body. So creating space, giving them time. And then noticing the breath. Seeing if you can draw the breath into the left-hand side of the body. Imagining the breath filling the left ribs, the left lungs, expanding. And exhale to send the breath to the areas of the body we're focusing on here. Noticing if you're holding on to any tension. Maybe it's somewhere obvious, maybe it's somewhere more subtle, maybe it's in the hands, the fingers, maybe it's in the jaw, the forehead. Can you invite in softness? And with your next breath, releasing the leg, drawing both knees into the chest. Maybe shifting the hips to the middle, and then we're going to extend the legs to the sky. This time the left leg comes long, the right knee comes into the chest. Maybe shifting the hips over to the right-hand side of the mat to create a bit more space, then using the left hand to guide the right knee over to the left. Cactusing the right arm, and the gaze comes over the right shoulder. So giving yourself time to settle in. Perhaps noticing any initial tightness in the outside of the right hip, the thigh, the chest, the neck. And bringing the awareness to the breath. Inhales to create space, perhaps in the right-hand side of the body. And exhales to draw in softness. Again, noticing if you're holding on to any tightness anywhere. Maybe it's the forehead, the jaw, the hips, the chest, the throat. Maybe it's the opposite hip. Maybe it's the toes. With your next breath, can you soften? And with your next breath, we're coming back to neutral, moving into our final resting posture, our shavasana. So extending the legs long, the arms coming long, either the hands up to the sky, the palms up to the sky, or the palms down to the ground, or you can bring one hand onto your heart and one hand onto your tummy. Just taking a moment here to settle in once again. If your mind begins to wander, knowing that's perfectly normal, bringing your attention back to your physical sensations, that gentle, nurturing rise and fall of the breath within the body. And gently beginning to make the breath a little bit deeper, to invite the breath into the bottom of the belly, the lungs, the chest, the throat, the head. Maybe an exhale through the mouth. Taking 2 more breaths just like that. Inhale. And an exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You're lying down, stretching your arms above your head, your toes long, and taking a long, deep stretch. Rolling over to one side, drawing the knees into the chest. And just taking a moment here. Just transitioning. And then when you're ready, making your way up to a seat at the top of your mat. We take a final moment here to root into where we are. So just as we did at the beginning, slightly tucking the hips under, sitting the spine tall, shoulders slightly back, collarbone broad. We're going to take 3 rounds of breath. So inhale to stack the spine tall. As you exhale, imagine them stacking one on top of each other, all the way till you get to the ground and you're rooting into the floor. Inhale to lift, lengthen. Exhale to root. Final round. Inhale. And exhale. Bringing one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Closing down your eyes if they're not closed already. And just taking a final moment here to check in with your inner world, your inner experience. To feel your heartbeat. your energy, the rise and fall of your breath within the body. And taking a moment to take some gratitude for these amazing, unique bodies of ours that allow us to move, to experience life. And to thank yourself for creating time in your day to create space, to slow down, to look inwards, and to listen and honor yourself. Coming out of your practice in your own time. Thank you for sharing this space. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or wherever you might be. Sending you lots and lots of love.